So the plates were scattered. Just look at the, inside the trolley. They have kept the plates, and the plates were scattered, right? So the plates were scattered before the nurse and ward. While at the time of the plates were scattered, at the time the nurses and the ward people, they came, and the sister caught these two boys. They put them on the bed and they scolded them like anything, right? Okay, 10th point. Let me tell you what about these two. The mechanic was all of 7 years old. The mechanic, the man who pushed the trolley, he was 7 years old. One night when his mother and father were drunk, his mother threw a lantern at his father. Miss the lantern broke over the child's head and shoulder. He suffered a severe 3rd-degree burns on the upper part of his body and lost both his eyes at the time of the Grand Prix. He was walking horror with a disfigured face and long flip-flop skin hanging from the side of his neck to his body. As the wound healed around his neck, his lower jaws became gripped in a mass of fibrous tissue. The only way this little boy could open his mouth was to raise his head when I stepped. Now he talks about how this mechanic, right, the person, the boy, he lost his eyesight, right? He narrates the story. What is the story it is? So one night, what happened for this boy? His parent, both his mother and father, they were drunken. After they were drunk, his mother, she threw a lantern at his husband. But what happened? Unfortunately, the lantern fell down on the boy, and his father, he escaped. And finally, this boy, he got a drop. So, after the lantern fall at this fellow, his head as well as the shoulder got completely severe damage. So he used a term called 3rd-degree burns. That means worst condition. So, the fire caught over his head as well as his shoulder, and almost the upper part of the body completely burnt. That resulted him, he lost his both eyes. So at the time of Grand Prix, he was working a horror. I think in the movie called I, right? The Vikram actor in the movie called I. In that movie, the climax you would have seen how the person, right? A person, right, who was severely damaged, severely, affected by the high voltage electric power. How he became. Same way, horror, right? So when this mechanic, he was walking, right, inside the hospital, he was looking like a disfigured. You couldn't recognize, right? The face, everything is completely burnt, right? The skin over here as well as here, it was completely merged. You cannot identify, right, the person. And moreover, if you see, you cannot recognize his face also. He was completely looking like a horror, right? Very, ugly to look his face. And as wound healed around his neck, his lower jaw became gripped in a mass fibrous tissues. So the burnt wound, it got completely cured, but still a remaining part over this area, it was completely damaged. The only way this little boy could open his mouth was to raise his head. So how he can open his mouth? He has to raise his head, then only he can open his mouth. Then think about how the fire, it completely affected this boy. After the Grand Prix, he stopped. This doctor, he stopped to see this fellow, and the boy, he replied, we won. He enjoyed the game. The mechanic, he informed the doctor that they enjoyed the game and they won the game, right? And he was laughing. He didn't think about his appearance. He didn't worry about his appearance. He didn't worry about his disfigure. Rather, he was enjoying the life, thinking that I'm still alive. Right, the 11th point. The trolley's driver, I knew better. A few years earlier, I had successfully closed a hole in his heart. He had returned to his hospital because he had a malignant tumor of the bone. A few days before the race, his shoulder and arm were amputated. There was a little hope of his recovery. After the Grand Prix, he proudly informed me that the trolley's wheels were not properly oiled, but he was a good driver. and he had full confidence in the mechanic. See, now he talks about the story of the driver. What happened to the driver? Right. The trolley's driver, the doctor knows this trolley driver much better, because a few years back only he had operated, right? He has closed a hole in his heart. Whose heart? The driver's heart. So he had returned to the hospital because he had a malignant tumor of the bone. So after the heart surgery, right, after the heart surgery, once again he came to the hospital for the reason because he had a malignant tumor of the bone. He had a tumor in his bone. So for that purpose, he came to the hospital. A few days before the race, his shoulder and arm were amputated. Amputated means they cut off. They cut his shoulder as well as this arm. That's why he was with only one arm. There was little hope of his recovery. After the Grand Prix, he proudly informed, right? So at the time there was not much sophisticated, a treatment for the tumor, but there was a little hope. Somehow this boy may recover, right? After this, race, this boy, the driver, he informed the doctor. What he said, the wheels were not oiled properly. That means what? Then and there he got a struck. So even this boy also, he didn't worry about his life. He has only one arm, right? He is not sure about whether he will live or not. But at that time, when he lives, right, he was so happy that he was living, right? So he had a full confidence in the mechanic. So he believed, not on this fellow, but he believed the mechanic who pushed the trolley. Right, the 12th point, very, very important. Suddenly, I realized that these two children had given me a profound lesson getting on with the business of living. So this two boys incident that gave him a profound, gentle lesson in getting on the business of living. Right, you just think about these two boys. They didn't think about their, lack. One boy, he lost complete eyesight. The another boy, he lost his shoulder as well as one arm. But these two boys, they didn't complain about their human body, human physique. Rather, each and every minute that they are living, they were enjoying the life. Because of the business of living and the joy is the real sense of the word, not just something for pleasure, amusement, recreation. The business of living is a celebration of being alive. So, we need to celebrate each and every second, right? We should praise, we should think that I should celebrate the art of living, right? I had been looking at the suffering from the wrong end. You don't become a better person because you are suffering, but you become a better person because you have experienced suffering. So many people, they think that they don't become a better person because you are suffering. At the same time, you become a better person because you have experienced suffering. See, unless and until if you undergo suffering, you cannot become a better person. That's what he says. We cannot appreciate light if we haven't known darkness. So unless and until if you undergo, unless and until if you experience the darkness, you will never realize the real essence of the light. Unless and until if you experience, right, the sun, you will never realize, right, the shadow. No, we can appreciate warmth if we have never suffered cold. That's what he says. These children showed me that is not what you have lost important. These two children taught him, the doctor, the renowned doctor, what they taught him, what you have lost is not important. Rather, what is important is what you have left. What you have, with that you have to be happy. With that you have to live comfortably. See, a lot of guys, a lot of people, that's all right. I'll tell you in general. See, a lot of people, they will think that, what they will think, they will complain about their life. I don't have this one, I don't have that one. And they'll compare their life with another people. Those who are well sophisticated, those who are lead a luxurious life. What is the use behind it? Right? So almost all of us, we are losing our, right, a peace of mind when we compare our life with another people. Don't do that. That's what he says. Though he is a doctor, right, he complained about himself. He didn't understand what the suffering it is. But these two boys, they taught him a good lesson. See, these two boys, they didn't worried about what they have lost, but they enjoyed each and every second with what they have. So this lesson taught him, the author, what is suffering. And this lesson taught the author, this incident taught the author what we have rest. With that, we should lead a happy life. Don't think about what you have lost, but think about what you have rest, what you have now. So with that, we have to live happily. You should have a good mind to accept it. See, that's what I read, a beautiful quote. We are, God gives, right, the test. But we are thinking about what others they are doing. But the thing it is, God gives, different question paper, but we are thinking that God has given the same question paper for every human being. That is wrong. God gives the question paper according to a person's ability. So with that one, we should lead a happy life. You don't think about, or you don't complain about how the other people they are living, how the other people they are leading a luxurious life. If you start to compare, then you will lose your peace of mind, right, my dears? So that's all the lesson. So what is the essence, what is the theme of this lesson is, what you have lost, don't think about that, rather what you have now, enjoy with that. So you have to celebrate that we are still living, right? So take care of this lesson is highly contemporary now because of this protocol. So safeguard yourself, safety, give much importance, much priority, give to your safety first of all, right? So see you in the next class with the next topic, with another topic, right? See you, my dears. Take care. Bye bye.